And I was like, oh my God. But I'll have your director email.
Okay, I'll get my.
The copy that you want to say.
All right, so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Stephanie, and so we are going to spend a little bit of time on some time management today. I'm going to go ahead and start my timer here. And I just want to kind of start out and preface by saying it was almost kind of, I had to chuckle in my head when I realized that this was going to be my subject, because I was like, oh, great. This is one of my biggest struggles in Mary Kay, okay? And so I hope, that I give you some hope. That you can work through it and you can get better at it. I have certainly not mastered it, but I have had to make some very specific, changes so that I can, manage my time better. And I've learned a lot of things along the way. And I think part of it stems from my personality in some ways. I'm the type that doesn't want to be conformed to a schedule. And so I struggle with it. I resist it. I guess that's probably more, maybe not so much struggle, but I resist it. And so, but I have to remember, if I was still working in a bank, like, they would have a schedule for me that I would have to do, and I would have these certain things I had to do. So I would much rather create my own schedule and my own, my own day. And I'd rather discipline myself than have somebody else discipline me. So anyway, so that being said, just know that you're learning from someone who's constantly learning in this, and hopefully just through my experiences, I can impart some sort of, maybe not wisdom, but just tip along the way. So with time management, the very first thing that I will say, and this may not sound like it falls into time management, but truly the key to managing your time, especially when it comes to your Mary Kay business, is going to be knowing your goals. Because once you know your goal, then you can go back and figure out your day or your week in Mary Kay, so that it's falling in line with what your goal is. If your goal is to earn a car and to become a director, like Tia's doing, her schedule's gonna be very different from somebody who is, just looking to make an extra couple $100 a month. You know what I mean? So once you know your goal, and whatever it is, that's fine. Like, if it's not necessarily to become a director, that's okay too. But you just have to know what that is, so that you can schedule your day and your week accordingly. So I did bring these. I'll go ahead and pass this around so you guys can take one of these. And it's just a simple, like, this is the goal I want by this date and this date and this date. Okay, so that's something you guys can take home. If you don't know what your goals are, use that as a tool to kind of help you through that. Because once you know that goal, then you really can focus in on your week. Is it going to achieve my goal? Is it going to take one party a week? Is it going to take 2 parties a week? Is it going to take 5 parties a week? Once you know the goal, you can schedule accordingly. Okay. So that's the very first thing when it comes to time management, is knowing your goal. The next thing that we're going to talk about, though, is the ever famous in Mary Kay, right? The weekly plan sheet. So are you guys familiar with the weekly plan sheet? Yeah. Most of you have heard of it. Okay, so, and I've printed a bunch of these, so you can take one of these as well. But basically, what the weekly plan sheet is just your week at a glance, and it's just a visual, for you to work from each and every week. I love and use this tool. I have a love-hate relationship with this tool, I would say, but I do love filling it out, and it does help me to have that visual to look at. So a couple tips, a couple things that I've learned when it comes to the weekly plan sheet. First thing I'll say is it's best to create your ideal week on one of them, okay, your ideal weekly plan. But just know that life happens, and it's not always going to be ideal, right? And so I do have my ideal weekly plan sheet, like when I want to be holding my appointments and when I want to be making my booking calls, and when I have my quiet time and all those things. And you can keep it on your fridge. Like, I have mine in my office. If you're like me, you can color code it and make it all fun and cute or whatever. But if color coding it stresses you out, don't do it. Just do pencil, right? But it's really important to have that, what you're shooting for, the ideal week, so that you can go by that. And just know that week in, week out, though, the ones that you're making for the actual week, you're going to have to tweak here and there, and things are going to change, and your son may have a recital, or whatever. Those things are going to come up. So so just so I know who all I'm talking to, how many of you are moms, like you have children at home still? None at this
Well,
table.
mine's grown.
Okay, that's so interesting. So you guys are gonna have very different weekly plan sheets from me, right? So, how many of you work another job in addition to your Mary Kay business? Okay, so a handful of you. So those are all things you kind of have to take into account on your weekly plan sheet. If you're working a job, and if you have, especially if you have like set, like I work from, 8 to 5 or whatever, you're gonna put that in your weekly plan sheet. Now, I heard my pastor say something recently that really resonated with me, and he said, he was talking about priorities and things, and he said that it's not about schedule, it's not about prioritizing your schedule, it's about scheduling your priorities. Because we've all got a schedule, right? The one that life kind of throws at us. And then we can take that, what gets thrown at us, and try and prioritize it, which, that's, you hear that and you're like, that's not a bad thing, but it's true. It's, the key is to go in and actually schedule those priorities, the things that are most important to you. And then, if you're ever in doubt as to what you want to schedule for those priorities and things, I always kind of defer to what Mary Kay would say, which is to faith first, family second, and career third. And I could just use those as kind of my motto for how I was planning out my weekly plan sheet. Now I will say this, have you guys ever heard of the term creative avoidance?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's has been me, it's not me anymore. But anyway, we'll come up with all these creative ways, right, to avoid doing the thing that we're supposed to be doing, right? Anybody else with me? I know you raised, okay, all right. So, another place that I kind of saw that happening for me was, when we talk about scheduling our family time, right? And family is very important to me. I know my husband and my son, and we do. I know if I don't schedule time for us to spend as a family, I suffer, like my mood suffer, all those kind of things. That's just me. So I know I have to make that a priority. But sometimes what I would do, especially if I didn't have a big enough goal, or if I was scared of that goal, said goal, or or just was just doing that creative avoidance, I would kind of hide behind the whole family thing. Well, this is family time. This is family time, and that's great. I'm not saying that we don't need to spend that time with family, but there's a point where it's, I don't know. I'm not. You guys don't have kids, but like they're, I don't need to be at Aiden's, karate practice every week. Like, I'll be there for the bigger things, the things that are more important, but I don't have to be at every practice. I can certainly be making phone calls during that time. So does that make sense? So, just as you're scheduling it out, don't allow yourself to use something that is important as an excuse as opposed to a reason why. Okay. Okay. So that's my first thing there. Let me get back to my notes here. One of the things that I do find with the weekly plan sheet is that it really can help to eliminate any guilt. And this is more of a mom thing for me, but there'd be so many times where I'd be, working my Mary Kay business and feeling like, oh, I should really be spending this time with my son. And so then I'd have this, I'd feel bad. And then I'd be spending time with my son, and I'd be like, ooh, I should really be making some phone calls right now. And so it was just this constant, beating myself up. And I just find that using this weekly plan sheet, and that can translate to other things too, like maybe if you're married, I should really be spending this time with my husband. And then when you're spending time with him, you're like, ooh, I should go help a party tonight, whatever, but if you're scheduling it alleviates that, because when you're on that date night with your hubby, that was what you scheduled to do. That's what you were supposed to be doing. So you don't have to feel bad about not holding a party during that time, and vice versa. So, so that the weekly plan sheet can really help with that. And I do think it's important to get your husband or your family on board with your weekly plan sheet too. So, involve them in that process of creating the ideal one, and it not only helps them feel important, but they get to feel like they helped with that. So those are some key things. And then another thing I always recommend, I don't know if you guys all have your Mary Kay date book. You got one in your starter kit. And if your starter kit one is old, you can get a new one each year. They're like $3 or $4 on In Touch. And what I love about it is that it not only does it have the weekly, each week, but it's got a month at a glance. And so that's something that I'll always do, usually 1 or 2 months out, is, just because there might be, I've got a hair appointment here. That's not going to happen every week. So there may be some specific things that you need to plug in there. And so I like using the month at a glance for that. A couple other things that are really great with this tool is that it's got a place, so we're going to talk more about this too, but the 6 most important things list, have you guys all heard of that in Mary Kay? Some of you have. So it's like Mary Kay 101, right? It's something that Mary Kay would do. She would talk about keeping, having that list of the 6 most important things that you have to get done each day. And making that list, she would even say the night before. I usually do mine in the morning, if I'm being honest, but to make that list that you know what your priorities are for the next day. But if you guys weren't aware, just so you know, there is a place on the top of your date book for you to put your 6 most important things list. So I don't know if everybody knew that was there, because some of my consultants don't. So that's right there. You can jot them down real quick. There's even a place down here for you to put like phone calls. This tool is it's an incredible tool to use in your business. And as opposed to having, like 3 different spirals going, like I typically do at any given time, I've got all those things right in here. So, and a couple other things. How many of you guys do the 6 most important things list? You do yours? Okay. So this was another struggle one for me, okay? Again, because I didn't want to conform to, whatever this list was, even though, which is funny because I love checking things off the list. So you would think that I would jump all over this. How many of you will write something down that you already did just so you can check it off? Anybody else? Okay, that's me. So I would really struggle with this because I would think, I have way more things to get done in a day than 6. Like, I can't do this whole 6 most important things list thing. I've got way more to do. And I was at an event with our national sales director, Cheryl Warfield, and she said something. Were you there for this? You're chuckling. It just freed me of that. So she said, she's like, okay, so you've got your 6 most, and she's harping on us that we need to do it. And I'm kind of being a brat in my head, I'm not going to do it. And she was like, so when you finish your 6 most important things list, you can write another 6. And I was like, isn't that so funny? That never occurred to me. And so it really did free me to jump in and start using that tool. And the days that I do it and I stick to it, I am so much more productive, ladies, so much more productive. So, and sometimes there's 3 6 most important things lists that end up getting done in that day. But just, so don't let that be a stumbling block for you like I did for so long. You can write another 6 after that. And I've got my Mary Kay 6 most important things, and then I have my personal, whole life 6 most important things that I have to get done. So anyway, so again, hopefully you're learning from my either stubbornness or whatever. So another thing I wanted to mention with your weekly plan sheet, I apologize, now we've gone through this a couple times. I hope I didn't already say this, but when you are scheduling that out and you are scheduling your priorities with your business, one of the priorities that you want to make sure you have in there is your weekly success meeting. Now obviously we always tell you that it is not a requirement to come to your weekly success meeting, but if you want to move up and you want to stay connected and have that friendship and that community with Mary Kay, you have to come to the meetings. You really, really do. And so making sure that you've got that scheduled and that you've got that's a standing appointment. And this is for maybe the girls on your team that do have children, making sure hey, have a babysitter in place, a standing babysitter for every Monday night or whenever yours is, so that it's not you trying to scramble and figure it out each and every week. Know what you're gonna, what are you gonna eat between? Are you gonna have, if you wear scrubs at work, making sure that you've got clothes with you that day to go straight into the meeting. So just taking those things into account ahead of time so that you aren't scrambling each and every week, okay? So making sure that you've got your success meeting in there. And the other thing you want to schedule is what we call IPAs in Mary Kay, which stands for Income Producing Activities. And that's pretty self-explanatory, right? It's activities that you do that are going to make you money, that are going to produce income for you. And we want you ladies making money in your Mary Kay business. We absolutely do. And so how many of you have ever had a day where you thought about Mary Kay all day, right? You were thinking about your goals, you were writing out your weekly plan sheet, you were making lists of all the people you're going to call, and you moved your product all over, whatever, right? Okay. And then by the end of the day, you're like, I worked so hard today. I did so much Mary Kay, but you didn't do anything that brought you money. And so I just want you to make sure that you're keeping that in mind. You want to make sure that you're also doing income producing activities, because we can think about our business all day, because I love thinking about my Mary Kay business, but you can end up exhausted at the end of the night and have done nothing that's going to bring money into your family. So, okay, so that's the IPAs. Another thing with that is just your thinking through your prime time in Mary Kay. So there's going to be, certain times of the day where holding appointments, making phone calls, like those are the, for me personally, like I don't typically make a phone call after 9 o'clock at night. And so I know that I need to schedule those things prior to that. And then for, maybe after 9 o'clock, if I do still want to work on my Mary Kay business at that point, that's when I can be entering, profile cards on InTouch. And that's when I can be, making sure that I get set up for, the preferred customer program or whatever, all those things. And those are things that I'm going to do after those prime time hours. If that makes sense. Okay.
Your friend comes over and she says, oh.
Talk about the date book. Okay, so this is the last thing I wanted to leave you guys with now that I'm out of time, but that's okay. We're going to go through it anyway. Is basically one of the things that I have started implementing for myself in my business is getting up earlier each day. And so, I'm very much more of a night owl. I prefer to stay up late, not get up early. And it's not that I slept in super late or anything. Like if my son had to be at school at 8, I'd probably get up around 7 or 7:30, but there's no time for me to get anything productive done in that time. And then the day just would get away from me. And so I knew, okay, I have got to start getting up earlier. Mary Kay would do this all the time. She would wake up at 5 a.m. and she had a whole list of things, she would get done in that time. So I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start implementing. And I knew I couldn't do 5 o'clock. I will get there. I knew I couldn't start there. So it's 6 o'clock for me. So I'm making sure that I'm getting up at 6. And so I was doing that for, it was about a week and a half, maybe even going on 2 weeks. And I was like, feeling a little bit better because I was actually doing it. I said I was going to do it, and then I did it. And then I was finding that I really wasn't making good use of that time. Like I was on Facebook, or I was checking my email, or I was, maybe doing a little laundry, which is fine. Like you do have to do those things too, but I just wasn't doing anything productive in that time. So it was like, why am I getting up early if I'm not going to do anything worthwhile in that time? So the end of last year, I ended up finding this book, and it really changed that time for me. And it's called Miracle Morning.
Oh, yes. I just listened to a podcast
It's
about
so
that.
good.
The savers and everything like that. Yes.
And I highly recommend. It's a super quick read. Like I think I read it the entire book in 2 hours. Okay, so it's a really simple read. I got it on my Kindle through Amazon for like a couple bucks. So if you have that, you can do it that way. But Miracle Morning. Hal Elrod.
He was like a top
ELROD.
seller for like Cutco knives and things like that. And then he ended up writing.
Yeah, ELROD. And so this is, I won't have time to go into each of these in detail, but just so you guys know really quickly, this is what he talks about, getting up early and doing these things each morning. So it spells out savers. So SAVERS.
It's the training I want to do.
It's a great training, and it has really made a big difference for me. And I think it's one of those things that's so practical. It would definitely be a good thing to train on with your girls, Tia, because it's practical. It's something you can implement. It's not hard,
right?
So it's just very simple. So okay, so the first one, the first S stands for silence. So spending a little bit of time in silence, or prayer, or whatever that is for you. Okay, so spending a little bit of a few minutes in silence each morning. The next one, the A, is for affirmations. Hopefully you guys hear a lot about that from your directors as well, but we do want to be saying positive things about ourselves and about our business and about where we want to be. Visualization, which is so powerful. It seems silly, but it's really powerful. So visualizing yourself doing the work, holding the parties, achieving the goals, picking up the free car, whatever, visualizing those things. E for exercise, doing something to get your body moving. I mean, seriously, ladies, even if you only have 5 minutes, like do some jumping jacks, like just do something to get your energy going, your blood pumping, all that stuff, okay? And then the R is for reading. And, I'll go a step further and say that it's reading, something positive, something that's going to enrich you in some way, whether you're getting into, scripture, or is, a self-help book, or whatever it is, but just, not your romance novels or anything, right? Okay, so reading something that's going to be filling you up. And then the last one, this is kind of funny, it stands for scribing. And he kind of jokes, he says I needed an S word, but basically it just means like journaling. Okay, so, maybe journaling about what you read, or journaling about what you thought about during your silence, or your prayer time, or, your visualization, anything like that. So just journaling about those things as well. And so I just find for me, that's a way for me to take that time in the morning and really make it worthwhile. So anyway, so thank you so much, ladies. I hope you learned some great things.
Yes, thank you.
Last name is Basco. BASCO.